Hello, and welcome to Setting the Standard, the podcast about wireless radio standards creation from the Wireless Innovation Forum. I'm your host and communications director of the forum, Stephanie Hamill. In this episode, I'm talking with Prakash Moorut, regulatory advisor of the forum, about the upcoming webinar on global perspectives on spectrum sharing, hosted by his organization, Shure. Hi, Prakash. Thank you so much for meeting with me today.
Hi, Stephanie. Good to be here.
So I've asked you here so we could talk about your upcoming event, Global Perspectives on Spectrum Sharing. So can you tell me a little bit about the event, like why it was planned and what its goals are?
Yeah. So we had a Wind Forum Spectrum Summit in the US, I think, end of June in Reston, Virginia. We did have several stakeholders from abroad who wanted to participate, and actually they did, but remotely. And it was good to have the regulators, in particular from outside the US. I think from Mexico, Canada, Europe, and I think even Middle East, etc. So we just wanted to continue the conversation in person, and we thought that this would be a great follow up to the event we had in Reston. If we can do that in Europe, and then these regulators can then meet in person and continue the discussion. So that's really the first main objective. And then the other one is about just information sharing. So as the chief regulatory officer of the Wind Forum also chair the regulatory advisory committee, and we do have this, uh, information sharing that takes place all the time between different regulators and stakeholders. And this is just an opportunity for to continue that conversation that we've had multiple times in the regulatory advisory committee. So on day one, it's about the regulators. So we'll have a regulatory panel, and the topics covered would be 6 gigahertz. Europe is looking at maybe doing something different with 6 gigahertz, maybe allowing 5G or 6G in that band, while all of that band here in US, was open for Wi-Fi. So at least part of that band is being discussed for 6G in Europe, for example. And also, we want to give an opportunity for stakeholders such as broadcasters, program making, and special events, wireless mics, etc., but don't necessarily have a platform to come forward and maybe share some of their, what they're doing, etc. So it's going to be very, very interesting just to have all of these different stakeholders there. So we'll have actually someone from NTIA, Charles Cooper from NTIA, coming in and talk about the national spectrum strategy in person. That's very great to have him there. Red Technologies will talk about CBRS, deployments, not just the standards and regulation, but actually the numbers, correct? How many deployments we've had and whether or not it has been successful or not. And then the European regulators will come and talk about what they're doing with some bands like 3.8 to 4.2 gigahertz in the UK. In Germany, we have a 3.7 gigahertz with local licensing to allow verticals to flourish in Germany. And maybe something that's interesting is, all of them are interesting, but there's one that I like the most, maybe, or I like a lot, is the presentation by the French regulatory body. So as you know, we just had the Paris Olympic Games, and people not really know what goes behind the scene to make that type of event happen. So you can imagine all the broadcasters from around the world coming in, correct? So from US, from basically more than 100 countries there, and all of them need frequencies, for wireless mics, cameras, and other wireless, devices. So we'll have a French regulatory body coming in and talk about how they made that event happen. And that's going to be relevant also for regulators from the US, FCC, Mexico, and Canada, as these three countries will host the FIFA Soccer World Cup in 2026. And then US will host the LA Olympic Games in 2028. So it will be good for everyone to just hear what the French regulatory body has to say about how they made that happen. We always see just one artist. I think if you watch the opening ceremony and you saw Celine Dion singing, for example, I think everyone was moved by that performance. But there's a lot happening behind the scenes, so that she's holding a wireless mic at the top of the Eiffel Tower, and it was just flawless. So I think it's just great to have this type of uh, you know. Um, information being shared, because we don't have access to that type of information all the time. So that would be cool to just hear from the French regulatory body about that. So yeah. And then on day two, we'll have an industry panel. So the mobile industry, broadcasters, satellite, Again, as manufacturers like Shure and others just come together and again share their experience and their views on spectrum sharing and other topics like 6G, etc.
Okay, and I would like to thank Shure for hosting this event. It's a WinForm sponsored event, but Shure is hosting it in London.
Yep,
Um,
happy to do
and
that.
what about, so you've mentioned who's going to be speaking, and it sounds like an amazing agenda. So who would benefit from coming to this? And of course, it is a free webinar. It's going to be simultaneously happening during the live event in London.
Yep.
So who would benefit from attending the webinar?
Yeah, I was actually, I just came back from a meeting in Mexico and I met with regulators in, Latin America, obviously. So Brazil, Mexico, Colombia, Chile, etc. And when I mentioned this event, there was a lot of interest from their side to actually attend. I mentioned, for example, the experience from the Paris Olympic Game that would be very relevant for Mexico and Canada just to hear about how they made that happen. But I think, yeah, for all the regulators around the globe, I think are welcome to attend. We have regulators confirming that they'll dial in from Middle East, and we'll see if we have anyone from Asia Pacific region also. And I would say also just the various industry stakeholders, good to hear what's going on, with 6 gigahertz, with 6G in different regions. As you know, harmonizing regulation for spectrum is typically a major goal for all industries because you want, economy of scale, etc. So just interesting for everyone to just hear what's going on in other places and then just see if we can, harmonize spectrum around the globe as much as possible so that you can have the same device operating in different locations. So I would say, I mean, it's really open for all the industry stakeholders in all industries. It's not just for mobile industries, broadcasters, satellite. I mean, essentially everyone. We've really tried to broaden the scope of that even as much as possible. So.
Okay, great. Is there anything else you wanted to add about it, or?
No, I mean, just that, we really would invite people to dial in. I know you've been sharing the link, we've been doing that too. So the other hat that I wear is, I'm the global head of Spectrum and Regulatory Affairs for Shure. And as you said, Shure is hosting this event in central London, not far from Ofcom, the UK regulatory body, actually. So, we've sent invitations to several people to attend in person, and most of them have confirmed. But in addition, we have this, webinar happening online, and we really would want people to dial as many people as possible to dial in. I think it's going to be very important and important event. And then hopefully we can continue the discussion maybe either later this year or next year in the US again. I'm not sure if we can go to another region, but I think it's already good we can do it in US and Europe to make sure we can reach out to as many stakeholders as possible. So
Yeah, yeah, that's great. All right, well, thanks again for sharing more information about the event with me, and I will be including the link for registration in the show notes, and we hope to see everybody watching this there.
yeah, great.
And
Thank you. Thanks,
just to
Stephanie.
reiterate, it's October 31st and November 1st.
Yeah, good to mention the dates. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Prakash.
You're welcome. Thank you.